I have a couple Bud Lights throughout the round.
A couple.
First thing we want to do here, it's a little modern take on a classic sauce. So we're gonna take the meat, we're gonna season it, and then we're gonna sear it in a hot pan, get a nice little crust on the outside, get a nice little color. So as I said, we gave it, give or take 30 seconds here. It's a nice color. That's gonna be all flavor in the sauce later, in my opinion. What I'm gonna do, this is absolutely flying by the seat of my pants, never done this before. I'm gonna use chicken broth. I'm gonna try to get a little bit of the flavor here. You're gonna see a facial. Sean knows about facials.
That's again, so this is my parents.
All we wanna do is get these little bits off the bottom of the pan. Here's a little chicken broth here. Kind of ends up with the same result, just without the bones. I already got two kinds of meat in there. I think that's enough. So what we're gonna do here is, my mother was nice enough to give me 3 jars of her homemade tomatoes to purify this. So I'm gonna use my Cuisinart, take all 3 of these, puree them, and I'm gonna mix them in with 2 jars, because I need a lot of sauce. I'm gonna mix them in with 2 jars of organic pastine. I like organic these days, big organic guy. Looks pretty good. Thank you to our sponsor, Bud Light. Without this, we wouldn't be able to get through the quarantine. Just want to say cheers. So what we're gonna do now is we're gonna start prepping the sauce here. So we wanna take, I have right here 1 red onion. In full disclosure, during these quarantine times, there were no other onions available at the store. So we're gonna go with, get a nice chop on these onions. Just get a nice chop on them. Cut right down, chop off the ends, toss this piece away, it's no good. We're just gonna repeat that for the second half of the onion, then we're gonna move on to our garlic. So moving on to the garlic here. Key flavor in pretty much every dish that I make, but definitely in a sauce. It's annoying. So what I find is if you give it a little smash, it almost chops itself a little bit, and then you give it a little rough chop afterwards and toss it right in the sauce. It'll pretty much disintegrate over the long period of cooking time. So just to speed this up, let me show you what I'm talking about. These are pretty much smashed, pretty good. You just want to give it a rough chop like this, get it a little broken up. Get the flavors going. You can actually smell it. You can probably smell it through the phone. There we go. And I'm just gonna repeat this process for the remaining garlic I have here. Chopping up a little jalapeno here. Like I mentioned, I like things spicy, so I like to add this to my dish. Again, it's more of a modern take on the classic dish, but you can leave it out. You can use regular hot pepper. You can use no hot pepper if you like. My family loves spices, so to each their own. What I've done is I've preheated my quite large saucepan on a medium to medium-high heat. And first we're gonna add our chopped onions. You should hear a sizzle when they go in the pot. Just like that. That's the noise you wanna hear. That's basically sex when you're sauteing onions. What we're gonna do is we're gonna let those cook down for probably 5 to 7 minutes. All you're really looking for is them to sweat a little bit. The onions cook down 5, 6, 7 minutes, something like that. I'm adding my garlic. This is another one where you want to add as much or as little as you want. I've chopped up some jalapeno. I will tell you the jalapeno has a different taste than a regular red hot chili pepper. So maybe taste it out a little, try it out a little bit before you add it to the dish. I've done it before. I like it, so I'm comfortable with it, but we don't want to ruin the sauce over a little spice. Let our onions, garlic, jalapeno cook down a little bit. We're about ready to add back in our meat. Get that nestled in, give it a nice little bed. They can all snuggle with each other. Sean's a big snuggler, not so much me. Add that back in. Got the pork, got the beef short rib. Oh, it just looks great. Nice little dance party going on in the pan right now. Oh, beautiful. In the next step, we're gonna add our sauce in. Really start to build those, layer those flavors in throughout the dish. All right, so you wanna be careful at this part of the process because tomato sauce tends to splash. What I've done is I've mixed in my mother's homemade tomatoes the 2 cans of store-bought pastine, organic, obviously. So what we're doing now is we're gonna start to make our meatballs. This is roommate Rich. So I bought about a pound of Wagyu ground beef. I'm gonna mix that with just over a pound of pork. I like to mix in 2 different kinds of meat. I just don't feel it's fair to the sauce, to the spaghetti, or to the meat to only have one. You need a lot of diversity in your cooking, just like the world. Welcome back. So we're gonna start making the meatballs right now. Like I mentioned, we got some pork, we have some beef, Wagyu beef, organic, no doubt. We had just under 3 pounds of total meat, so I've added 3 eggs. Then I sprinkled in some Parmesan cheese. Gotta be honest, no idea how much I sprinkled in, but we'll just feel it out and see what looks good. We're gonna add a little more, we're gonna add some parsley. We're gonna add some breadcrumbs. Parsley doesn't really matter. Add as much or as little as you want. The breadcrumbs, big deal. This is what dries out your meatballs or keeps them nice and moist and tender. So what we're gonna do, fridge. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna mix this up by hand, obviously, and then we're gonna feel it out. If it feels too dry, maybe add a little water, maybe another egg. If it feels too wet, maybe add a little more breadcrumb, maybe a little more cheese. So we'll play it by ear.
Oh yeah.
We have our sauce. I've moved it over off of the power burner. We have it simmering, a very light simmer. We want this to go for quite a long time. What I've done is I've made some meatballs, probably larger than the normal size. This is what one looks like. I'm gonna drop the last one in so you can see what I've done here. Just let that take a nice little bath. Get in the sauce. Perfect. Okay, now we're gonna flavor our sauce. The rest of the stuff, like I said, you really want to season along the way. So let's throw in some pepper. Obviously, we have to throw in some salt. Now you can see there's a lot of sauce in here, so we really need to make sure this is salted. We'll check it another hour or two to make sure that it's okay. We're gonna add a little garlic powder as well. Like I said, never too much garlic. I'm gonna add a little hot pepper from the Spice Lab. Okay. I'm gonna give it a little stir. You don't want to disrupt the meatballs too much. You want them to get comfortable though. If they break apart a little bit, that's okay too. Nobody's afraid of little bolognese. Did not finish a bottle of white wine the other night. Can't figure out why, but I have it left over, so I'm gonna add this to it. A little more flavor, a little more flavor. What I'm also gonna do is I'm gonna take a little soy sauce. Nice salty element, just a little bit. You really don't want too much. Very salty. I'm also gonna take a bottle of red wine that well, 2 bottles, but I didn't finish last night. Just a little drizzle. This is more about the love that comes from red wine than really anything else. Now we have most of our flavors that we need to make a great sauce for tonight's first course. See, we have 4 cups of flour. We have 4 eggs. I'm just gonna make a little bath in the middle. We're gonna break these apart a little bit, and you slowly want to incorporate the flour. Don't worry if you get a little outside. It's okay. Okay, there we go. Now we're gonna start to mix a little in, little by little. This is for the Lombardos. Once you get enough, you start to mix it by hand. Really get in that yolk, break it up. If it's a little dry, we can always add another egg. We can always add a little water. If it's a little wet, we can always add a little more flour. Just mix it up. Just add 1 more egg to this mixture.
Hey, what
The eggs,
pasta? What
got the
pasta?
flour. I like to mix in a little drizzle of salt. Been working with it. You see, I have this water here by my side, just in case it's a little dry. Just drizzle a little water. You don't have to get too crazy, just a little drizzle.
Seems fair.
Now we start to work with what will be a delicious pasta.
3, 2, 1.
So what you want to get to is you want to get to something that resembles a nice ball like this. Drizzle. Just a little love tap on the top. Here's why I do it. Because I can. Okay. Right. This is our dough. What we're going to do, we're going to cover it with some saran wrap. And we're going to put it under a bowl, covered for at least 30 minutes. I think we're probably going to go more like 75 minutes. I would say 7 beers, give or take. So as you can see, we got a nice little ball of dough here. It's pretty big, so we're gonna cut
That's
it
what she
into
said.
fourths. No need from peanut gallery. What we're gonna do is we're gonna take one of these. Oh, look how delicious that looks. Take one of these and take the other two. Put them back, cover them up right now so that they stay nice and moist. I'm gonna get this into a piece that we can really work with. See, I have some flour on the table so it doesn't stick. We're gonna roll this up. You can stop it, all right. So, we've rolled it out. You can see it's nice and translucent. You can also see the island just barely through the bottom. So what I want to do, I want to take a little more flour and I want to sprinkle it on the top. I want to just rub it in like this because what we're going to do is we're going to start to roll this about halfway halfway, okay? Then roll it. Okay? Just like this.
Oh.
And what we're gonna do, don't worry about them. What you wanna do is cut just like this. There, my friends, I have homemade pasta.
As seen on TV, holy sheesh.
Fresh. This is where the word fresh came from.
Spirit fingers.
That, my friend, is one nice dish of pasta. Way more than we need. This only is going to take maybe 2 minutes. So let's slide it in. Oh, wow, that looks great, doesn't it? Doesn't it, folks? This is the final dish. We have some pasta. I use a spoon, just like my grandfather used to. I took one meatball, and we'll see how it goes.
Been waiting for my big spot all day. Tried to jump in and help all day. Bill wouldn't let me. He's a very, very forceful chef. But you know what? I can play the role of tester. And as they say, one bite. Everyone knows the rules. We'll see how it goes. We'll do one without the meatball, just to get the flavor and the taste of the pasta. And then we'll do it with some meatball. No spoon, making a mess. It's thick. It's got a lot of character to it. Every noodle has a nice bite to it. It's delicious. It's very good. The sauce, it's great. Let's get a little meatball in there. .5 out of 10.